Hey, I'm Wendy Gettings. I am one of the head coaches of Sigma Swimming. We are here today to talk about recruiting, the recruiting process, and if you know someone that's going through this, or if you find this information helpful, please hit that like, subscribe, and come watch us.
But first, what is it? Go to the Sigma shop to get all your Sigma gear. We have What the Sigma shirts out on sale now, and a bunch of other stuff. So it'd be great if y'all want to get some of that.
Okay, so first, I want some of our former and past swimmers to kind of tell you about themselves and what their strokes are and what college they are going to or they are going to go to.
So I'm Reese Nelson, and I go to Washington and Lee University. I'm going into my senior year. So my recruiting process was during COVID, so it was a little different, but it's basically started out with just communicating with different colleges, emailing them, showing my interest, filling out questionnaires. Some colleges email me first, but just being proactive and communicating with the coaches, continually showing interest, and then eventually I did a bunch of Zoom meetings with the coaches. I didn't go on a recruiting trip because it was during COVID, but I did get to go in person to WNL and meet with one of the coaches in person. So, and after that, I knew it was the right place.
All right. I'm Porter Lane. I'm going to the University of Indianapolis. My recruiting process was a bit different than other people's. I wasn't recruited at all until my senior year. I wasn't a very fast swimmer until my senior year, had a breakout year. So I went from 0 offers to a lot of offers in about 2 or 3 months. I sent 40, 50 emails to different coaches and programs just trying to get attention or anything like that. But after about 2 or 3 months, I ended up walking away with a couple offers, and I eventually decided that UND was the right place for me after a couple of visits and talks with the coaches and the former teammates.
I'm Grant Chapa. I'm going to BYU or Brigham Young University. I had probably the easiest recruiting because I never really had to reach out. I had coaches emailing me from the beginning, and it was a difficult process because it started that way, and then their expectations of you kind of got over, and I lost a lot of offers through a little bit of time, and then I ended up contacting with BYU, and it just clicked, and so I decided to go there.
My name is Gerald Carlson. I go to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. My recruiting process was also during COVID, so like Reese, I did not get to officially visit any schools, so it was a bunch of Zoom calls and stuff, and I was a pretty late commit per se. I first went through the process and I was really interested in one school, but it just ultimately didn't work out scholarship wise. So I ended up being just kind of cut off there, and then restarted my recruiting process like mid-senior year and chose Arkansas Little Rock. That's it.
Very cool. So you guys talked a little bit about your recruiting processes. Is there something that you wish you would have known going into your recruiting process? Anything in particular?
I wish I had known how hard they were going to kind of press you for things, because I felt like too many times I was kind of forced into a corner to make my decision really early, and by the time I really had a decision, I lost a couple opportunities that I actually wanted to go to. So that was also something to learn and frustrating about it, because it kind of just feels like you are just, at times you can feel like you're just kind of like a number or like just a time, and that's not what I wanted to feel. But then like I do believe when you wait the proper time, the team that's meant for you will come to you, and that's what I think happened in my situation. So
Cool. No, so when you guys were making your decisions, how did you know that's where you were going to fit?
For me, it was the people. Like when I met the people on the team, I just hit it off instantly with them. I don't know what y'all's experiences were like, but I knew those are the people that I'd be around pretty much every day. Like, there's only times I'm not around my teammates is when I'm in class and when I'm sleeping. So, like, you're always around them, so you need to.
For me, it started out just with the coaches. I mean, like, it was on Zoom, but like one of the coaches that I had a video call with was extremely personable, and that just started to get the ball rolling. And then once I met my teammates, that kind of sealed the deal for me.
Yeah.
For me, it was a lot to do with my teammates being competitive and wanting to be in the water every single day, and the coaches being able to motivate and continue to get better and show just progressive improvement with the team, and everyone there with a similar goal of becoming a better swimmer and a better athlete. Because that was the big deal breaker for me.
I agree with him. I agree with Porter a lot. I think that's very important to me to find like the competitiveness, but also it was when someone kind of looked at me as more than just a swimmer is when I found that to be pretty like meaningful, because a lot of times you'd go on the trips and you didn't feel that way. And then, you know, you kind of get introduced into that and people are like, you just feel like you actually mean a lot. So.
So you had mentioned the coach. The coach really kind of drug you in there. Do you guys feel like talking to the coaches as well? Like, did you feel like it was going to be a good fit? Did you feel like they were going to have the personality that you would get along with?
There were some coaches that I felt were just very low energy, and that's not necessarily the environment that I'm used to or that I appreciate. So I knew that fit wasn't there for some schools. But Wendy, their head coach Brent that I talked to, he's very high energy, very on deck, very personable person, and that's the kind of motivation that I need to be able to continue to be in the water every single day.
In your conversations, we're going to kind of go back to that recruiting process. Grant, you didn't have it so much, but you did. How, you said you emailed coaches? Did you fill out questionnaires? Like how did you initiate those conversations?
So how I did that is I had a big format of a essay or something that Justin sent out like a year or two ago, and I filled that out and I made a big thing, and I would send that to just about every program I thought I would have any sort of interest to, and then I would fill out their questionnaires and just keep on staying after it, emailing them, be annoying, be a nuisance, make them respond to you. Mm-hmm. And it eventually worked out for me.
What was in that email?
It was basically just saying my background and why I want to be in the water, showing my improvement and showing why I can be the next athlete, why I can be a program changer, why I can make the difference on your team. You have to kind of sell yourself a bit in all aspects, academically and as an athlete.
Yeah, very good. You two, since you are in college and you guys have been helping with the recruiting process, or, you know, being facilitators or whatever you want to call it, to athletes coming in, what do you guys look for in a teammate? Because, I mean, that matters, right?
Oh, for sure. I think something that our team has really embodied is like the authenticity of the individual, because if they say things that kind of throw you off guard, you can pretty gauge how they are as a person. So it's kind of how like natural and how, you know, excited they are to be there.
Yeah, and so when we have recruits visit, we usually do team activities with them, and through those we can really like gauge if they like are trying too hard to be like a different person than they actually are, and if they'll like mesh well with the rest of the team. And usually that's the case, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
No, that makes sense. When going through the recruiting process, should you only narrow it down to just a couple of schools, or a big wide amount of schools? And if you do have an amount, should you at certain points, like at the beginning, have a certain amount and then go down? What do you guys think?
I think you definitely need to narrow down your list, because it's the feasibility of being able to go to a certain kind of program and being able to tour them. Because you only have so many days and only so much time to be out of the water and go on these different tours and stuff. So you need to take in all the factors. And what I did is I broke it down into a bunch of different categories and started ranking them on Google Sheets to figure out which programs are actually feasible for me to go to, both academically, as a swimmer, financially. All these are big motivators for me to go to a program, and realistically some options just aren't going to work out. So I think you need to layer it out that list. I think my final list was 3 or 5 schools, and I talked to over 20.
Okay, you guys, any?
I agree with that. I think I took a couple trips I didn't need to take because the school's academics were too out of my, like, I would say they're just too high. I'm an academic school, like top 6% needs the only people who get to go in, and you need like a certain SAT score and all that stuff. And I should have thought about that at the time. But I think, like Porter said, knocking off academic, I wouldn't make any cuts on the team in general based off just who they are. But I would say, like, I would make the cuts off just, you know, school-wise, like things like that, like academics. If they're not good enough for you or this, that, or whatever you want to really do is what I would go for. And don't ever cut off a school just because you don't feel like you may not fit there, because you could fit probably anywhere if you really want to.
Cool. Okay, when you guys were choosing, you guys kind of mentioned academics and such. What factors were put into your choosing? Like, what made your schools the schools for you, and how did you narrow it down?
I think a large factor for me is I'm going into more engineering and STEM-based fields, and that selectively already knocks off so many different programs because it's such a hard degree path to be able to go into, and then it has to be a well-accredited program and have different things. I know that one school I talked to was specifically an engineering school. It's things like that you have to be aware of academically, and you have to really know what you're getting yourself into outside of the water.
I agree.
What's the question again? It
Oh
was,
my. What factors did you put into your choosing the college that you wanted to go to?
y'all won't like it, but I think to a certain extent you have to consider the scholarship, just because there were some schools that I did consider going to, but my parents could not afford it. And the scholarship I was going to receive was not enough to carry me through my 4 years, and I'd be taking out student loans, which is something I didn't want to do. So that was a factor. And even though I hate being about the money, the money plays a little bit of a role.
No, that is a big factor. It is. And you know, how are you going to be set up financially going into your adulting, right?
Yeah.
So that is a big factor.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that's kind of why I'm doing Arkansas, is because it's a neighbor state to Texas, and a lot of neighboring states you get in-state tuition. So yeah, another like kind of swimming factor was pool space. Like I wanted a 50-meter pool. Like swimming in 6-lane 25-yard pools, like I did not want to do that for 4 more years. So 50-meter pool was definitely a high one.
How did you guys prioritize academics when you were making your decisions? Because it's not all about the swimming. How did you guys prioritize that? And how big of impact did that make in your decision? Obviously, you said a big impact in yours.
I put a heavy focus on academics when choosing W&L. Made sure it had the right programs and just was the right place for me. And so when looking at colleges, it narrowed it down a lot, like you said, with the engineering programs, but it had to have my academics first, then I considered swimming there. So it was really academics first.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because there was a lot of schools I was talking to, I'd be like, oh, I'd be interested to go there, but if they didn't have like a degree that I would be interested in doing, then it's just a waste of time.
It was easier for me because I'm going into business, and every school has a business school. So it's really like, it wasn't that tough. It's more of, was I going to be able to be accepted into the college in general, including the business school? Because they don't explain to you that even though you kind of feel like you are an athlete, you might get a little bit of treatment because of that, you still have to pull decent grades enough that you would be going to that college anyways.
Yeah. How did you guys do the search to find? Did you guys just go to each college, or did you look for programs or colleges that have certain programs? Was there a certain website that you guys used?
I personally use a lot of SwimCloud. SwimCloud's very useful. It ranks all of them. It shows their top swimmers. It shows who they bring in. It shows who they compete against. And if you really look into it, you can find a lot of matches academically and what you're looking for as a program as well, like swim program. So you can get a good match rating score and figure out a couple schools that really might be a good fit for you. I toured a couple of schools that were very high on my like matchmaking thing, and I really did enjoy them.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the website is U.S. News and World Report. They have lists of like the top so-and-so college in the U.S. So like top engineering colleges, top liberal arts colleges. And that is a good starting point for like just figuring out names. And then you can look into it. Do they have a swim program? No. Okay, then I'm probably not going to look into this more.
Makes sense. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the swimming side. How did you guys assess the coaching styles before going in and the team dynamic? And how did you know that the coaching style was for you? Obviously, you had the good conversations on the Zoom calls, but how did you know?
I guess going into it, you didn't really have a general idea of how these guys coached. My big thing was, do their swimmers show improvement? And if they show improvement, that typically means there's a good environment to continue to improve and learn from that. And when I went on my visit to Wendy, they were having practices, coaches were everywhere, people were loud, people were having fun, people were putting in the work. They were getting ready for their next meets, which a lot of them were going for Olympic trials and things like that. But being there and truly experiencing how they coach it's different. It's definitely different.
I think something that I kind of kept my eye out was like how the swimmers talked about the coach too and how they coached. If you had asked the swimmers on the team something about like a set they did, and depending on how they responded, you kind of understood what you were getting yourself into.
Here's the hard one. It's always a hard thing to talk about is money. How did you navigate talking to coaches and talking to the administration about scholarship and about any financial aids?
Most schools were very honest with me about what I was going to be getting, especially you'd have a meeting with the head coach at the end of this, or at some point during your trip, and then they'd kind of break it down for you with the numbers and your times. And that was kind of what they made it very easy. Like I thought I was going to have to ask and be like, well, what is this? And then they kind of just told me, and I was like, okay. And that helps your decision a lot, because you're kind of like, is that enough? And I don't want to be like, is that enough? But is it like, will I be like, okay, if I come out of college, like with that scholarship amount? So.
Mine was a similar experience, just kind of, if you score at conference, depending on how you do at conference meets, is generally how they figure out how much money you're going to be getting, because you have to be able to score conference, because that's their big thing, is being able to score conference, win a conference, put up points at conference. It's all where it's all about. And when you break it down, I think the average is you get about a quarter of a scholarship to most schools if you break it down per person. But the world's not perfect. The world's not going to be equal. Some people are going to be scoring more points. They're going to be getting more scholarship. And you need to recognize what your position is going into that conference, going into that school, and you can generally get a good perspective of how much you're going to be getting.
So we are going to take a short break. How did you guys take the pressure of making this big decision? Because obviously going into your academic, that's what's choosing what you're doing for the rest of your life, right? So academically and swim, how did you guys handle that pressure?
I mean, I knew what I sort of wanted to do during and after college. So once I found what I thought was the right place and it had the programs that I wanted, I sort of just pulled the trigger and went early decision, which took all the pressure off.
I handled it horribly. I always had too much pressure because I would second guess myself on my decision a lot, being like, is this really the place for me, and blah blah blah, and I would just end up psyching myself out of picking. And I think you just had to realize every place is going to have a couple problems, but it's how you make of it, and that's kind of how I had to calm myself down, made my decision.
Yeah, I had to trust myself and kind of just trust my judgment on the decision I was making.
Makes sense. What is the most valuable piece of information that you would tell someone going into the recruiting process, or that is in the recruiting process right now?
I don't know.
I'd say be honest. Be honest with your goals. Be honest with what you want to accomplish, and see if that lines up with what the coaches want from you as well.
I would say just be yourself, because there will be schools that you may not fit at, and it's better to be yourself and realize you're not going to fit there by them telling you that than pretending to be someone else going and then realizing that it was not the place for you.
Yeah, I think definitely finding the place that you think you'll fit in is probably one of the most important parts of the process.
That makes sense. Okay, my next few questions are really just going to be for Reese and JL, since they've already kind of gone through this. Sorry, buddy.
I have wise words.
You do. How was that transition from club swimming from high school and going into college and college swimming?
It was a little nerve-wracking at first, but once I sort of got into it, it really didn't feel that different at all. And there's just new team. The coaches, my coach's style is a little different than I was used to in club swimming, but I caught onto it quickly and learned to like it. So.
Yeah, I think a big adjustment for me was the schedule. Swimming in the afternoon, at 2:00, is very different than swimming at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to schedule your meals out differently and kind of figure out your homework schedule too. I think that was another big one.
Learning time management.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Are there readily available resources that you guys have in college that you didn't have in high school?
I can answer that.
Okay, what
You got it.
Yes, you do. Most colleges that I went on a visit to, you are given 2 academic advisors to make sure you don't fail out of college. And then you have to also, they'll probably talk about it too, you have to do hours of tutoring, or you have to go in and check in for tutoring time. And I'm not looking forward to that really, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think the tutoring times for us, we made it more of a team activity, so it was fun for everyone in a way, and not super bad. But yeah, academic advisors, they help out a lot, and they'll guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, we didn't have mandatory tutoring times, but we do have academic advisors. And then our coach has made a point to say hey, if you want to talk about something, I'm open. So we can just walk into our office and talk about whatever.
Yeah, we have something called Trojan days. So if we're overloaded with homework or something, we can kind of go into our coach's office and be like, hey, I'm a little overboarded right now. I need my 2 hours in my day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, that kind of leads into my next question. What are the expectations that have been set out for going to practice and participating in meets and everything since you guys are in college now? Any different than what it is for club?
think in a way it's a little different because our coach has like a clipboard that he like tracks attendance and like kind of when we get on deck and how we do that day in a way. So I guess just the keeping track of everything was a little different.
Yeah. Our coach also has a clipboard.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
yeah. And if you're like not like there's you have to be like in the water at a certain time, and if you're not, then
Yep.
yeah.
Is there any experience that has stood out to you guys within your swimming careers in college that has just kind of made the experience for you? Or is there still yet to come?
Are you saying like events or
Events,
what?
anything that you do with your team, or if you're going to I don't know, a championship meet, or you had an outstanding swim.
I mean, so the team camaraderie is a big part. So like if someone like swims their personal best, even if it's not like the team record, if someone swims their personal best at like conference champs, like everybody will be like cheering on the sides and go and pat them on the back and like crowd around them after they're done swimming. So
Yeah, I think conference is super different than any other meet I've ever experienced. Like we had our first conference champion in the 200 IM, and we were like going crazy on the sidelines. Like it was like one of those experiences that you're like, I would love to relive that every single day.
Reese, I'll say one thing. I think both of you probably aren't making a big enough deal about the team and the camaraderie.
I agree.
You mentioned it, but that's a huge thing.
yeah.
It's way different than I mean, club has camaraderie.
It's not the same.
Oh man, you're talking about when you get there. That's how you're socialized into college.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like your fraternity or sorority.
That's your
or whatever.
people.
It's
Yeah.
your people, and y'all do all sorts of stuff together. Y'all go to drive-ins and have things and do stuff. And I mean, yeah, the great. I mean, definitely champs is totally different, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like just watching you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and everybody's supportive and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a huge whole support structure when you're there. That's one reason to go,
Yeah.
because it's just so awesome. It's way bigger than your high school team. You know, it's a big deal.
Another thing you talk about as well was like dual meets, and like you actually have like a record like as a team going to dual meets and trying to beat people, even though you're not like going your best times, you're still like trying to like win and stuff leading up to conferences and all that. And so that's another thing in terms of camaraderie. Like we have giant meets at USA Swimming like all the time. That's like the norm versus college, at least in D3, it's like two teams facing each other
Sure.
for an hour.
Totally try to outpoint the other team. You do have a
Yeah.
record.
Yeah, for a couple hours.
Yes.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
There is a record.
I mean, another big difference is like like a lot of the meets, like a lot of in club swimming, you like really like usually like build up to a meet, but in college you just like swim through them until basically either mid-season or championships.
So you mentioned a little bit about the camaraderie, and I mean, way back in my day when the dinosaurs roamed, I felt like whenever I went in, I had a built-in family. Like that was my support system. So can you guys elaborate a little bit on that? Like, do you guys feel the same? Is there differences?
100%. Yeah. When I first moved in, we live with swimmers or divers. We kind of got our choice on that, but like the three people I was put with my freshman year are still my best friends, and like, yeah, everyone around me is like super supportive inside and outside of the water. Like, you know, after practice we'll go to Starbucks and we talk about our like academic challenges of the day, and then you'll get a text at like 10 o'clock at night being like, hey, how was that exam today? It's like, wow, they like are listening to me in a way. But yeah, like travel meets, those are super fun too. Just being able to be with your team and travel with them, and
Yeah. So the entire, like most of my best friends are swimmers. My first year roommate was a swimmer, and it's really just like pretty much a big family. That's what it feels like.
Nice. Can you guys kind of tell us the difference between Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3, or NAIA?
I think I can elaborate on the difference of Power 5 Division 1. I would say like you get a lot of I don't know how much you get, but I know that there's just a lot more resources in Power 5. Like at BYU, there is like a fridge in the restroom in our locker room. Well, in our locker room, there's a fridge on the pool deck. There's a fridge right outside, and there's a dining hall and like a snack hall, which is like 5 minutes away, like by walking. Like it's just they have a lot of opportunities to make sure that you succeed, and they put a lot of emphasis on making you the best that you can be and giving you the opportunity to be the best in it. Just because they have a lot more money since they're a bigger university.
Yeah, I think a lot of universities, they have their own way of like supporting their athletes, even they're just like general student. But something from like Division 1, Division 2, I think it's just athletic scholarship, and then Division 3 and NAIA, I don't think have scholarship.
No, they don't.
Just academic.
Yeah.
Make sure to hit that follow button, like and subscribe, turn on the bell icon for future videos. We'd love to see you back here and learn some more information from us.
And if you guys are going off to college or you're in college, let us know where you're swimming at. We want to know. If you have some other advice, we'd love to hear it as well. You know, this is all about helping others. Thanks.
Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe, share, ring the bell, comment with any questions. If you're in the DFW area and you'd like more information on swim lessons or swim team, be sure to visit www.sigmaswim.org.